The trade deadline is over, but after the last two games, the Rangers are probably wishing for an extension so they can go back and be sellers.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into yesterday afternoon's just awful game, the just road trip from heck, and the Rangers just promptly pooping the bed immediately after the trade deadline, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Now, the Rangers decided to be slight buyers at the deadline, acquiring Carson Kelly and a left-handed pitcher, Andrew Chafin, from the Detroit Tigers, all while shipping out Michael Lorenzen, the odd man out in the rotation, to the Kansas City Royals. Chris Young saying, hey, we're going for it. We saw that 5-game winning streak leading into an awful, awful road trip, but the team won, was 3.5 games out at the trade deadline, a spot where, as the reigning champs, as third place in a division with 2 teams ahead of you that are not juggernauts by any means, and with mostly the same roster that just won the World Series literally last year, Chris Young was in a difficult position. But one of the things that I like about Chris Young as a general manager that I think separates him from the pack, being a former player, he is a little bit more aggressive. He does tend to be a little bit more of a buyer, a little bit more of a believer, a little bit more willing to go all in. And last year at the trade deadline, he did just that, being one of the most aggressive teams at the deadline, giving up what seemed like a decent, pretty good chunk of prospects for Jordan Montgomery and Chris Stratton, giving up Cole Reagans for Aroldis Chapman, which was a very, very aggressive trade that the Rangers needed to make, end up with them winning the World Series, and also giving up a decent prospect for Max Scherzer. And it worked. It paid off. The Rangers won the World Series because of it. Other teams were not nearly as aggressive as Chris Young at the deadline last year, and so sensing that market inefficiency, which the Rangers have sensed that market inefficiency since they started this fast rebuild of just being more aggressive, spending more money, taking risks that other teams aren't willing to take, and it paid off in their first ever franchise World Series. And this year, he was a little bit more aggressive than maybe the average GM would be in the Rangers position. 3.5 games out, the offense has not shown signs of life. Yes, at that point, there was still some hope that Evan Carter would be coming back. Yes, Josh Young was just being added back, but yes, Jacob deGrom, Tyler Mahle were on the return. But still, this team hadn't really inspired a whole lot of confidence since, that May road trip. Basically, since that series in Oakland, everything has been pretty far downhill. They've had some good moments in July, including a season-long winning streak, but 4 of those games were against the White Sox in the midst of a historically horrendous season, and amidst their longest losing streak of the season, and 3 of those wins against the White Sox were of the 1-run variety. Still wins, still in a position to where they could be buyers and should be buyers, and this team immediately rewarding that faith with not just 2 losses to a good Cardinals team. This is a good Cardinals team. They're probably going to win the NL Central, or at least I think make a playoff spot. It's a decent squad, but losing in this fashion these last two games, losing this badly, this ugly. It's just a horrible, horrible feeling. Thank God this team gets a day off. They're going to stew on this loss, on these two losses, on this entire road trip. Not only you drop 3 out of 3 games in Toronto, you have an injury to John Gray, then Max Scherzer's pulled early from his start, and you've had to use a lot of your long relief options the last couple of days, and you're going to have to push Max Scherzer's next start back. I mean, this team is not an ideal spot right now. And not only was the loss bad and non-competitive, having to use Dane Dunning for 20-something pitches, 22 pitches in an inning and a third. Just an inning and a third, 22 pitches for Dunning. A game that you would think maybe the Rangers could take this one. Maybe they had the advantage. I mean, Andrew Chafin has been pretty consistent all year long. He's been the one Ranger starter still in this rotation that hasn't spent any time on the IL this year, which is massive. He hasn't had that many blow-up starts. He hasn't had a whole lot of great starts, but just being that consistent force in this rotation has been valuable. And Heaney was a guy who I thought would carve up this Cardinals lineup. The Cardinals have been bad against fastballs and lefties as well. Heaney throws a lot of fastballs, and he's a lefty. Would have made sense for him to carve up this Cardinals lineup. But no. Tommy Pham, once again, the bringer of destruction against the Rangers. Not only the grand slam in the game before, but a 3-hit day, a multi-RBI day. I mean, Brandon Donovan with a 3 RBI day. I mean, getting that kind of production out of your 5 and 6 hitters, or 6 and 7 hitters, in your lineup, must be nice. It sure must be nice to have a deep lineup. I remember what that was like last year. But this offense was not facing off against, some kind of world-beating pitcher. They were facing off against Michael McGreevy, who absolutely mowed this offense down, this Rangers offense. Just looked absolutely hapless, helpless, horrible, just terrible. McGreevy is not some elite starting pitcher with Cy Young caliber potential. Maybe down the road. He's a former first-round pick. This was his big league debut. And he goes 7 innings of 1-run ball against this Rangers offense that just could not provide much of any fight. Not only were they down by such a large margin that it almost didn't matter anyway, but still, once they were down 3-0, no part of me thought this offense was coming back. They followed that 3-run inning by going 1-2-3 in order. I believe 7 pitches were required by McGreevy to mow down this offense. It's just lifeless at the moment. And there's nothing coming to help. There's no fixes. There's nothing else is there. This is the lineup. This is as healthy as you're going to get. This is it. Chris Young said, hey, okay, you want to go for it? We'll go for it. It's on you, players. You got to play better. It's on you, coaches. You got to coach better. It's there. I gave you the pieces. I made a trade to upgrade at catcher because I don't know if Jonah Heim is going to be the starting catcher for the rest of this season. It might just be Carson Kelly. According to WRC Plus, a catch-all metric by Fangraphs, Jonah Heim has been the worst offensive everyday regular in Major League Baseball this year. The worst. That is incredible in a horrible way. How much everybody in this offense has fallen off from last year. Heck, even Josh Smith in the second half, I mean, he has just had a massively fantastic season overall. I was a little worried that he might have a little bit of 2023 Zeke Durant of being amazing in a big way, stepping up for an injured player, an injured all-star on the left side of this infield, and then the second half just falling off a cliff. And so far, that has been the case. In 90 first half games, he had an 861 OPS. And in 12 games in the second half, he's hitting 200, on base of 275, slugging just 289, a 563 OPS. It has been brutal for Josh Smith and pretty much everyone up and down this lineup. I don't understand how an offense can fall off this hard collectively after being the best offense in the AL last year. And this was against Michael McGreevy, a guy with a 4.5 ERA in 109 AAA innings this year. Cardinals' 15th best prospect just came in and mowed this lineup down. I don't know what this offense thinks it's going to do to start a spark, to start playing their best baseball ahead of them, because they do not have much longer to actually figure this thing out. This show is brought to you by Liquid IV. When you're taking it America's pastime, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's Popsicle Firecracker flavor, a surefire summer hit. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America, because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. It is hot out there. It is August now. We are finally there, the hottest month of the year, and you've got to keep yourself hydrated with Liquid IV. You can blast off with iconic summer flavor of Popsicle Firecracker, a festive blend of citrus-fueled lemon, lime, tart cherry, and raspberry flavors. Find all your favorite flavors on their website, from acai berry to lemon lime and pina colada as well. Powered by Liquid IV, LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. 3 times the electrolytes on leading sports drinks, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients as well. No more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business, and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Now, the good thing about the trade deadline being over is that after every loss, everyone isn't just saying, "Oh, sweet, can't wait to imagine what kind of deal we get for Kirby Yates. Oh, sweet, can't wait to see Nathan Eovaldi ship off. Oh, sweet, can't wait to see Jose Leclerc shipped off." That was just honestly so exhausting. Probably the most exhausting part of leading into the trade deadline is every single loss. So much discourse about gotta sell, gotta sell, gotta sell. Like, we don't remember how annoying and awful and just miserable it is being a selling bad team. It's not fun. It's prudent every once in a while to be sellers when you're not in your window of contention. When you realize, oh, this window is closed, yeah, sell. And it's fun to get excited about prospects. But when you are a team on the verge of being in a playoff spot, trailing these teams like the Astros, like the Seattle Mariners, that are by no means juggernauts, clearly talented teams, clearly have the potential to maybe win a World Series this year, but by no means unpassable, unbeatable, and clearly miles and miles and miles better than the Rangers. They're just not. and giving this team a chance and buying a little bit. And you're saying, oh, why did the Rangers give up prospect capital for this team? They really didn't. They did not give up all that much. Yeah, they gave away Michael Lorenzen, but his numbers the last 7 games or 10 games or so, it's just not anything that I am really worried about, even with these injuries or concerns about Scherzer needing to take an extra day because he's 40 and he had some arm fatigue. Even with John Gray going on the IL for at least 2 weeks, maybe a month. Even with that, still not that pressed about losing Lorenzen. And in terms of the prospect the Rangers gave up, I mean, Liam Hicks is a nice catcher, nice catching prospect, but he's 25, 26, still in Double-A, never really hit for power. Good org guy, maybe a decent backup catcher that has a 5, 6, 7-year career, but I'm not really worried about giving that up for Carson Kelly or a relief prospect in Double-A. Not really that worried about it. Joseph Montalvo, solid pitcher, wasn't the best. There's about 6, 7, 8 pitching prospects that I'm higher on in this system than him. He might turn into an everyday number 4 or 5 starter, or he might be an org depth guy in a couple years. I don't know, but I'm not really that worried about giving him up for Andrew Chafin. Same with Chase Lee. I'm not really that pressed about giving that up. And sure, this was a seller's market. Yeah, everyone knew that. But there were no top 100 prospects in baseball moved. Not a single one. Not even for Tanner Scott, the best reliever on the market. Not even for guys with multiple years of control. Not even for Randy Arozarena, a guy who's been a good hitter with 2 more years of control after this year. So what big cost did the Rangers give up by not being sellers? By telling this team, hey, we are going to go for it. We do believe in you. We are going to give you a chance to go for it. What was really lost? It's not like the Rangers were going to get Jackson Holliday for a Nate Eovaldi Kirby Yates deal. It's not like they were going to get... Heck, maybe they were going to get Heston Kjerstad. Maybe that was on the table. But even then, it doesn't outweigh the cost of telling your team, no, I don't believe in you. You are not getting a chance. Because just getting the chance to go on this kind of a run, getting the chance to add a Jacob deGrom, a Tyler Mahle back into this rotation, adding Josh Young, and maybe this offense that has been collectively so unfathomably much worse than last year that at some point mathematically it has to turn around, you'd think. Or maybe this year just everything is going to poop and it's just going to be one of those years and you punt and try again next year. But giving them a chance seemed like the smart thing to do. Even if they farted away down the stretch, and they very much could. I mean, they could be 7, 8 games out by the end of August. I would not be surprised because this month of August is going to be brutal. They're facing nothing but above 500 teams until the 27th of August. This upcoming home series, 3 against Boston, 3 against Houston, then a road trip for 3 against the Yankees, which would have been very fun a couple weeks ago when the Yankees were the worst team in baseball for like a month and a half. But now that they added Jazz Chisholm, they look unstoppable again. So you got 3 games in the Bronx, and then 3 games in Boston, playing them again. Then 4 games against the Twins, 3 games against the Pirates, who, if memory serves, just swept the Houston Astros. Pretty sure that's right. They at least took 2 out of 3. Then you got 3 games in Cleveland against the Guardians, who have been one of the best teams in baseball. And then you get the mercy of facing the White Sox at the end of this brutal month. That is a gauntlet, an absolute gauntlet, where you could really make up some ground, or you could really find yourself in a hole. These are a lot of teams that if the Rangers are going to have some hopes of a wild card berth, that they're going to need to beat. Twins are ahead of them. Boston's ahead of them. Yankees ahead of them. Guardians, I think, are pretty clearly going to win the AL Central. So still maybe making that race a little bit tighter and getting Cleveland down to more of a realistic wild card team that they could pass. Or heck, if they win the AL West, maybe having a better record than Cleveland. I think that's kind of out of the question. I think whoever wins the AL West is going to be one of the teams in that wild card series playing whoever the third wild card is, because the AL West has just not been good this year. But this team needed to give themselves a chance, and with the two additions that are really left to be made, that's really just two guys that are coming back. Well, I guess John Gray is now going to be another one of those additions. But Mahle made some significant progress, throwing in what is probably going to be his last rehab start last night in Round Rock, throwing 74 pitches, excuse me. Not throwing the most strikes, but again, that's kind of to be expected with Mahle being a guy who's coming back from elbow reconstruction surgery. Usually the command is not there in the first year back. It takes another year for that to kind of come back to where it was. That's usually just the case with all Tommy John-like surgeries. So him throwing 4 2/3 innings last night for Round Rock against the Sugarland Space Cowboys. 4 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, 1 walk for him, just 3 hits. 19 strikes looking and 7 strikes swinging. Slider looked good, fastball looked good, splitter looked good, and it seems like his next start is going to be in the majors. Probably against the Astros in that series, the 5th through the 7th. Whether that's going to be on normal rest, if that is on normal rest, then it's probably going to be the 5th. I'm thinking more likely it's going to be the 6th or the 7th, that Tuesday or Wednesday in the series. Adding him back to this rotation would be huge. Then if you get John Gray back after 2 weeks, that would be that next week in the series. Getting another off day on the 8th would give this rotation just a little bit more cushion that they very much need. What it's going to look like exactly is unsure. I feel like that Jose Urena is going to start the Friday game, then Nate Eovaldi on Saturday, and then, I don't know, Dane Dunning or maybe it's Cody Bradford on Sunday to give Scherzer that extra day's rest so that he can pitch on the 5th. That is what he said he requires. So getting him that is necessary because you cannot afford to have another starter going on the IL because this rotation is already starting to lack some depth because the guys who are their long relief options are getting shoved into the rotation. You do still have, at this point, 4 of them. 3 of them that I would trust to start a game and at least give you 3-4 quality innings in Urena, Dunning, and Bradford. Not so much on the Gerson Garabito front, but still, if he's your 4th long relief option, you don't usually need 4 long relief options, but you slot 2 of those guys in, and then he ends up being your 2nd long relief option. That's not horrible. It's not ideal, but it's not horrible. Maybe you can give yourself a chance at gaining some ground in this division. Getting Mahle back is a huge next step. But this team has really fallen off since last year. And it's not just the Rangers from the 2023 Rangers on the 2024 Rangers roster. It's some other Rangers all around the league, including one who's getting way too much hate from an AL West rival fan base. This show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the best way to buy tickets to all the different types of events you're looking to. It's sometimes so hard to find the right place to get tickets, the cheapest place, and if you're like me, you want to get some last-minute tickets because you don't know exactly what you're doing until you know you want to do it, then Game Time is the best place for you. They've got last-minute deals that are the best prices. They got the Game Time guarantee that guarantees you that Game Time will credit you 100%, 110% the difference in tickets if they are not the cheapest tickets that you can find. You got all-in pricings. You can know exactly what you're paying. You can also see views from your seat from the app, so you know exactly what your view is going to look like once you get there. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Now, the fall off from the 2023 Rangers to the 2024 Rangers is peculiar because so much of this lineup was so good last year. And to have every single one of them outside of Josh Young and Josh Smith fall off such a precipitous cliff is just astounding and confusing. But it's not just the Rangers 2024 lineup that's there. It's other guys who have left the 2023 Rangers and had horrendous seasons elsewhere. The main of which I want to talk about is Mitch Garver, who signed a 2-year deal to be the everyday DH for the Seattle Mariners this year, and he has been, quite frankly, pretty terrible. Just not having his best season, actually having what's probably his worst season since 2020 with the Twins. He only played in 23 games that year and had a .511 OPS. This year, outside of that, is his lowest career OPS ever. He has an OPS plus of 82, which means he's significantly worse than the league average batter, and he's been healthy. He's played 89 games this year, mostly DHing has kind of helped him stay on his feet. He's already played more games this year than he did last year, but his offense has been terrible, and he knows he's been terrible. And Seattle Mariners fans have apparently been even more terrible to him. This is a thread tweeted out by Ryan Divish, a Seattle Mariners beat writer for the Seattle Times, one of the best beat writers in the country. And it was Mitch Garver talking about his struggles and the abuse he suffered at the hands of fans. I'm just going to read these quotes because they are pretty jarring. This is what Ryan Divish tweeted last night. Mitch Garver fighting back emotions and trying to get hit through his struggles. Quote, "It's probably the hardest I've had to grind. This is by far the worst I've ever played in my career. Tough on myself and my family with the death threats, the retire, you suck, and effing kill yourself, and all that. It's getting old. The only way I can change it is if I play better, but it's like continuing right now. So the worse I play, more here, and rightfully so. I am not playing well." He goes on to say, "I've already accepted the fact that I'm not going to hit above 200 this year, and I don't know. It might not get better. Who knows? Maybe it just gets worse. I don't know. But I show up on the field every day prepared to play better and work hard and control what I can control. And what people say out there, certain things they want to say and whatever, I think it brought a lot to this team." Garver, on still grinding through his issues, he said, "I'll never quit anything. Certainly not going to quit this. They're going to have to rip this jersey off my back. That's fine. That's an easy way out. I could happily retire right now, go home, and live a great life with my family. That's not what I want to do, what I do. I made a 2-year commitment to this team. They believe in me. My teammates believe in me. So it's just a matter of making it click. When it does, good things will happen." Now, players suffering abuse from fans is nothing new, but I feel like it's definitely gotten a lot worse in recent years. Now, Garver has had objectively a really bad year, but taking it to this level, he's hitting 168 with a 622 OPS, and already saying at this point in the year that he doesn't think he's going to hit 200. That's a big admission from him and kind of a sign of how much he's fallen off. But I don't care how bad Mitch Garver's played. I don't care how bad any player has played. When you're a fan of a team, when you're a fan of sports in general, heck, I mean, you're just a person in general, and you have the audacity to say things like that, to send death threats to baseball players, tell them to end their own life over a sport, you have completely lost the plot on what is important in life. You have taken things way too far. I mean, these are human beings. These players, we forget that. We say, oh, well, they're multimillionaires. Oh, they're out living their dreams, so they can suffer whatever abuse you want. That's not true. That is absolutely not true. We need to remember that these people are people. They are humans. They have feelings. They have emotions. Whether they're paid millions of dollars to do a job, even if they're doing that badly, okay, yeah, that stinks. But diving into a person's DMs, commenting on their posts, and sending them directly these abuses is horrifying, psychotic behavior. It's terrible. You've got to think about these things before you're posting at these players. Heck, even just posting it online. I've been in this business for a decade. I've had the honor of being in locker rooms with these players, looking them face to face, and I kind of stick with this principle of whatever I'm saying, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on this podcast, if it's public, I don't say anything that I wouldn't directly say to that person's face. Because it's easy to get lost behind a screen and think, oh, these things don't matter. Oh, my words don't matter. But it's not just you. It's you and dozens, hundreds, thousands of other people sending these kind of messages to these people. And no matter who you are, that gets to you. And it's not an excuse. There is no excuse to behave like that to players, to any player, no matter how poorly they're doing. So just think about it next time you're tweeting at some player, especially if it's for your stupid prop bets or your fantasy team. Absolutely not. Just reconsider. Be a little more careful when you're posting. It's not just Mitch Garver who's fallen off. It's also Jordan Montgomery with a 6.5 ERA. Made 15 starts this year. He's just been bad. And I don't know what it is about the 2023 Rangers that has just caused everyone there to fall off. But I wish I could tell you. I wish I knew. If I did knew, I would be a much smarter person and probably employed by the 2024 Texas Rangers to tell them what's wrong so that they can fix it. But I don't. This is just where this team is right now. And they keep saying they have their best baseball ahead of them. Well, frankly, they have to. Because surely their best baseball can't be behind them, because behind them has been nothing but bad. It has just been a frustrating couple weeks for this Rangers squad. Heck, maybe just a frustrating last week. Last 6 games. I don't know if this team's going to make the playoffs. I don't know if they've got that spark. I don't know if everything last year was just a miracle fluke and actually all these players with long histories of being at least decent Major League regulars was just a mirage. Maybe it was. Probably wasn't, but maybe it was. But even if that's the case, it's good to remind ourselves every once in a while of where we were back in November, how we felt about what the future of this team would be, myself included. I remember being so sure that I would never let this team piss me off again. I was never going to feel sadness because the Rangers won the 2023 World Series. Well, they are trying their darndest to prove me wrong this year. Not actively, just passively, on accident. But still, even if everything goes to poop for the rest of forever for this Rangers franchise, it's still nice to remember that no matter how much the fall-off was for guys like Mitch Garver or Jordan Montgomery, that they will always be heroes for what they did in 2023. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.